good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to a new year.
Yes, welcome to a new year.
Quick question. Reflecting on last year, how have you grown?
Interesting. I think I've been doing a lot of reflection, so a lot of growth took place last year. I could segment it into career-wise, family, different parts of my life. But I'll speak to the career part. And one of the interesting things with my role is that a lot of opportunities for growth. And one that happened last year was regarding strategy. The fact that strategy should be very stable, but of course execution should be flexible. Execution should be flexible.
So you just raised.
Okay, so back to what I said about strategy being fairly stable, but execution should be flexible. Last year, we all know that strategy is where you play and how you win. That's basically strategy. Where you play, how you win, with the amount of resources you think will be available within a certain time. That is your strategy. That is where you are, the route. That is where you are headed to. But sometimes things change. And last year, even though we've defined that, we found that some of our elements of the strategy were being affected by external factors. For example, there is a target sector we thought would give us predominantly more than 50% of our revenue. And that target sector was being affected by external factors. It could be political, economical, financial, or technology. In our own case, it was technology disruptions, it was economic issues. And these were external factors we didn't have control over. What do you do in that case? And for me, it's so important for us as leaders to really track these indicators. That's why you're looking for insights, political, social, economical, technology-wide. What is really happening around you in your sector? How are they influencing your strategy? So when we found that, it meant that we had to do something about it. The second strategic element that was affected in terms of execution, a particular model we thought was going to work for us, being affected by some of the factors we also didn't have any control over. We found out that that model wasn't going to be viable in this market, and we needed to change it. So one of the things I would say as a leader, it's just important that when you do data-based decision, how did we find this? We were looking at the data, and the data showed us that one, that sector we were going for, there was a huge issue because of external factors. Two, the actual model we're using, it wasn't working because of also some external factors.
Beautifully answered. Quick one, not to waste your time. I have one more question, especially for your young audience. What is one important leadership quality that a high performer should have in order to grow?
So I think in this environment, one leadership quality you should have is resilience. And I spoke about strategy and the fact that your strategy is fairly stable, but execution, you should be flexible. Resilience is very, very important because your strategy will be influenced. External factors will come into play. Part of your assumptions you will find is wrong. And resilience would allow you weigh the storm. Resilience will allow you make the changes, adapt as required. So if you tell me you have to learn to adapt, you have to be flexible. I would end that note on a final example because it also speaks to an experience I had about 10 years ago. I was running a maternity retail, and we did find out that our model was based on the fact that we have flagship stores that are physical, then we'll have some digital presence. But 2 or 3 weeks after launching this flagship store in the heart of Lagos on a high street, the government was renovating the road and the road was a lockdown. Nobody could make it to the store. We had to go back to the drawing board knowing that we had to find another channel to push it. And it took a lot of resilience because we had spent so much putting up the store, made plans, and we went to the digital route and started the digital adverts, pushing for traffic digitally to get our audience. And the second thing we found, which I said about data, is because we were doing data-backed decisions and we were tracking the insights and the data, having learned that external factors can influence, we found out that even though it was the maternity retail for pregnant women we were doing, so the actual end users were pregnant women, we found out the actual budget spenders were men, especially men that their wives are pregnant for the first time, dads. And while a woman will walk into the store and think about it as a project and buy one outfit, a man will walk into the store or go online. If he likes one outfit, he buys it in all colors. And we adapted. We ensured that our actual adverts were now targeting husbands or fathers. So if there's anything you need to go through these changes, I think you need resilience. You have to hang in there. But make sure you're checking your insights and make sure that you're actually using data-backed decision.
Thank you so much for the strategic insights.